I can see them going for Clowney. Adam, we've got the AFC West next for you. Straight up, a team that is playing quite well at the moment. You know, they're not as bad as what we thought fully. Their defense is clicking. Their offense has started to get going. I think they've got like a top 5 ranked O-line, a top 5 ranked D-line in terms of stats. Broncos, do they need lots of pieces or 1 or 2 pieces? I know they're in a tough division. What do they need to contend?
So the defense has been really good this season. Quite surprising, actually, given because it was only a couple of years ago it completely fell apart, didn't it? But they've looked really good this season, and so because of that, there's not really anywhere to go with it. I think maybe some depth. You might want to go for a little bit of depth on the D line just to keep rotating guys, but I wouldn't get too excited about wanting to go there. Wide receiver is an area that it kind of feels like they need to go for. Really like Troy Franklin, think that he looks really good, and I think he's getting more involved now, which is great. Tim Patrick has gone and hasn't really been replaced. Cortland Sutton is a guy who has been rumoured about trades that he might go, but also just not really getting involved. That's the other thing. He's been very quiet this season. And so it kind of feels like he's probably on his way out, whether they trade him or not, to be brutally honest. So I do feel like wide receiver is a big one that they want to go for. And then tight end, I just kind of feel like when you look at the tight ends, none of them are of any real quality, to be brutally honest. They're not great. And bear in mind that you're dealing with Sean Payton, who's always had a fairly decent tight end in his team, has always sort of gone towards the sort of like, you know, the run game and the tight ends a little bit more than massive loads of wide receivers. And I just kind of feel like in this year's class that's meant to be better, I think that he's probably likely to go down that route. So for me, I think it really is wide receiver and tight end, and just generally sort of like boosting that offense and sort of like making it a bit more of a powerful offense. I mean, we've seen some games where they've done okay and they've put up some decent numbers, but I do feel like it's very few and far between at the moment, and they need to be able to give Bo Nix as much help as he can get.
Yeah, I think in terms of draft, I think, you know, they're going to be middle of the pack, really, I think, when it comes to the end of it. So I think they're going to be right in that mix to take Colston Loveland, who is by far the best tight end in this draft. They're going to be easily in a position to pick him. So I think it's a no-brainer for them to go Colston Loveland. I'd even say if it takes, they have to move up a couple of picks, I'd do it. I think he'll be a game changer for them. I think he's, you know, we've seen Brock Bowers, what he's done at the Raiders. Colston Loveland could do this at the Broncos. So I think that's a no-brainer for them, definitely, for going forward. And as you said, they can pick up wide receivers later. They can pick up running backs later. Is Javonte Williams a free agent next year? Is he a free agent next year?
I don't think he is. Is he next year? I think he's still got one more year on his contract, but he's No. Sorry, he is a free agent next year. Yeah. So I mean, that's someone where they've already brought in Audric Estime, though, of course. Yeah. So whether that's already been planned for, maybe. But I think that. I think Williams has done enough in order to earn himself a new contract, whether that be at the Broncos or not, I don't know. But I think he's done enough. And but yeah, I think that they probably could do with maybe looking at running back late in the draft. They do have a bit of cap space as well. Got 56 million, I think I read of effective cap space. So 56 million is a decent chunk that they've got there that they can do stuff with as well. So yeah, quietly optimistic. For the Broncos, I think they're looking at a little bit better than what I think we all thought they were going to be.
Good for the fans because they've had a bit of
they've had a bit of a rough ride since they won the Super Bowl, haven't they? Really. So
the Kansas City Chiefs vying for the three-peat, still unbeaten. Defense is looking great. Offense is doing football. I'm not sure. It's not amazing, is it? It's not putting up loads of points, but somehow still manages to win games. Wide receivers, I think they've been unlucky because Rashee Rice looked fantastic at the start of the year and obviously out for the season. We don't know what's going to happen next year with the ban, if it kicks in. They've brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, Schuster's out injured again. Will it be offense that they go with in the draft? They're always in a position of luxury, aren't they? They're always at the back end of the first. They always keep their pick, and they always just go, who's the best player available? And it's always someone that is definitely a first-round talent, a better first-round talent, but people have needed more needs, and they're like, well, we'll have him then. And they somehow managed to come away with great talent at the end of the first. So what are you saying for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think they could go defense because that's kind of what they do. I think they've got a few free agents and on the D line, and really, but to be brutally honest, it's more about depth than anything else. I think that's what it is when it comes to them. So I don't think they really need to go too much into the defense. I think tight end is a potential given the strength of the class. Kelsey, is he going to play another year? We don't know 100%. They've got Gray and Wiley there, but I don't think that either of. I mean, Noah Gray it's been a really good sort of like tight end too for them, but he's not going to be Travis Kelsey. So you do sort of wonder, would they want to go down that route? You also sort of wonder, maybe they don't want to go down that route because they've got Rashee Rice there and they're going to concentrate more on the wide receivers. So they kind of have the flexibility to go tight end or not. But for me, the biggest issue, and I feel like this is the first year that we've done this, but I do kind of feel like this is something that we have been saying for a couple of years now when we've done the draft show. And I just want to see them go out and get a franchise O-line guy. Just someone really, really good to protect your most important asset, which is Patrick Mahomes. And the O-line is good. It's not bad. But I just want to see, just get someone in that's like real top quality. Like, I know you're not going to be at the top of the draft, but we've seen them move up loads of times, haven't we, in the draft before? And you just sort of think, why don't you trade up and go out and get yourself just, I don't know, like when you think about what the O-line class was like last year and where they went, there was a good 3 or 4 of them that were kind of like in the top 15. Go up and get one. Just go out and get a really good O-line guy and protect your quarterback. That's what I think is the real issue that they just don't have. And they're very reliant on Mahomes constantly running around and being able to get away. And you just sort of think, why not just... I mean, it's very difficult with the Chiefs. There's no holes. They've won the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. So you can't really criticize too much. But you just sort of think, if you did that, if you got that one guy that really made a difference, then you've got, how do you beat them?
They did go and get Kingsley Sumatea, didn't they, last year?
They did, but I mean really go out and get, like... I mean,
how far are they going to have to move up the draft to
but you can do that. You're that good. That is the point. You're that good. All the time you've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got Andy Reid. You can afford to maybe throw away some of these O-line, some of these extra draft capital that you have, and really go up and get someone really good, and just sort of like, because if you can keep on bringing in wide receivers like you do in the middle of the season every year, and that's enough to do it. I mean, like the DeAndre Hopkins one, if you can bring someone of his talent in for a year, and it's only costing you like a 5th round pick, you're not spending it anywhere else.
I think there's a guy they could take a gamble on. He's, I think.
No, I don't want to gamble on someone.
Well,
I want to get the man.
Going into the draft, well, they're not going to get Banks or Campbell. That's what you need to. If they want the man, they need to get Banks or Campbell, and they're just not going to get that. They're not going to get up high enough in the draft to do that. They're not going to give up that much to go that high. But there's a guy that's extremely good talent, Josh Simmons from Ohio State, really, really good tackle. Got injured, so he's now injured and out for the season. So there's probably his stock's probably going to drop, and if they can bring him in and rehabilitate him and then use him. They've got Kingsley Sumatea, so maybe they could slowly bring him back and then be that high-end prospect. He's probably, well, I don't know, a top 5 tackle in this draft if he's fit. So I don't see why they couldn't take a gamble and stick and take him and develop him when he comes back from fitness. So I think that might be a potential for them.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the way forward. Like you say, the chances of them going massively high is unlikely, but you just sort of think that's just go out and get someone who's going to be really good, but on your O line, and really just sort of like stop Mahomes having to run around like a madman all the time.
He enjoys it.
And
it's not the same if he doesn't. Adam, the Raiders, another team like the Browns that have sort of really, really struggled. I think we're not got the best out of them. I thought people expected a bit more. They've now started to let people go. There was talks of Crosby going, but the owner said no chance. They look like it's on offense. It's just Brock Bowers and nothing else. I do like Jacoby Myers, but doesn't seem to be getting involved. Quarterback's a bit of a. Is it Minshew? Is it O'Connell? Are they injured? Is it back round to the start again? It doesn't really know what's going on. Lots of holes. Where do they go first?
Yeah, a lot of holes in this team. I think quarterback is a must. It's not really happened with Minshew. They benched him and brought O'Connell in, which tells you all you need to know about what they feel about Gardner Minshew. I know he's back at the moment, but that's because O'Connell's out injured. So yeah, neither of that's worked. They need to cut ties with both of them, get rid of them, and they've bought in Desmond Ridder, haven't they? Which is,
oh dear.
Yeah, exactly. They brought in Desmond Ridder as cover for Minshew. Yeah, that's how bad it's getting. So quarterback is a desperate need for them, and one that I think they're probably going to go for. I think that the whole of the O-line has been pretty poor. The run game has struggled because of that. I know that Alexander Mattison's not been too bad, but he's been all right, but I wouldn't say he's been fantastic. So I think that the O-line is really struggling. That needs help at. And then the other one I put down was corner, because I do think defensively that they haven't been too bad really, but corner, they have struggled. Jack Jones, who's kind of their main corner, he makes some really, really good plays and some really, really dumb plays as well. And that's an issue. So I do think at corner they could do with some depth and some help there. But and then obviously Devontae Adams has gone. So wide receiver as well now. You're looking at a problem with the fact that you've got, like you said, you've got Jacoby Myers. But when you actually look at their depth chart, they've got Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and Alex Bachman. That's it. I've not seen Alex Bachman play, so I don't really know much about him. But he obviously hasn't done much. And you're down to the other two. I know Brock Bowers is going to be the main target now, but you need some wide receiver depth as well. So yeah, a lot of holes. But I do feel that quarterback, they really need to get this sorted out now, because they've kind of been, obviously they had Derek Carr for a long time, but it felt like the last couple of years with Derek Carr wasn't really working. They really need to get a new guy in there now, I think.
Yeah, looking where they are in the draft, they're easily going to be able to get one. Depending on, like I say, who goes hard at the top, whether it's Panthers, Browns, Titans, Saints. Saints might, they've got Derek Carr. They might just stick with that. I don't know. And they've also got Spencer Rattler, maybe not, but they're going to be in that ballpark to get one of the guys. I think ideally, I think that Jalen Milroe would be the perfect fit for them, because they have got a lot of weaknesses, and the O-line's not quite as good. I think Minshew learned that, and Jalen Milroe is very, very, very good with his legs. I think.
Do you not like Jalen Milroe? Is that where we're going with this? You dislike him. You dislike him, so you're going to send him to the Raiders? Is that how we're going to?
No, I think I just think he's the only one that will maybe be able to fit in. I think if you go Quinn Ewers, I think it's going to be a case of him just getting absolutely battered because the O-line's not strong enough.
That's true.
And we've seen where his weaknesses are, and going to the Raiders, I think they're going to be highlighted. Whereas Milroe, I think, is one of the best athletes in college at quarterback at the moment, and his arms, he's got a great arm. So I think those two things he might be able to succeed at the Raiders, whereas I think Quinn Ewers might fail at the Raiders. So I'm not sure that's a good fit for them. So I think Milroe, if they can get him, might be a good fit for them. Finally, the Los Angeles Chargers. Surely you're just going to say that you're going to tell me all their needs, and then Harbaugh's just going to have O-line and D-line anyway. So, it doesn't matter whether you've got running back, wide receiver, cornerbacks or safeties on there. He's just going to pick O-line and D-line, mate.
He probably will, because that's what he does. But there is one other thing that I think he might do. I think he might go tight end. He's pretty famous for wanting tight ends, isn't he? And Hayden Hurst has kind of been injured and not great. Will Disley, I think, has been okay. And then there's not really anything else after it. As I said many times in this show, tight end class looks really good. I think he'll probably go tight end. The other area, yeah, you are right. It is O-line, D-line. Although I think that O-line, he might not be so desperate to change things now that he's got Joel out there. I think that they've got some with him and Slater. I think you've got the main bit, so you could just look at that as depth. But yeah, I think that the defensive tackle needs a bit of depth. I think he'll do that. And then edge rusher, Bosa and Mack, both getting a bit older. I think that he might look at edge rusher personally. And so yeah, I think you're probably right. It probably is O-line, D-line predominantly, but tight end I feel is the real big need that they need in order to do what he wants to do anyway.
Yeah, I think maybe later on in the draft, they look at Gunnar Helm. I think he might be a good one. Don't need to address it in the first round. It's not going to be an option for them. I think they're going to be in a perfect spot in the draft, maybe for him just to dip into the Michigan pot. I think there's a chance that he might be able to get Kenneth Grant where they might be picking, who's an absolute beast on the D-line. So I can see them definitely just wanting to bring some of his players into his team. Also, if there's any chance that Ashton Genty might be available for them, then they'll jump at a chance to get him. I think he'll really fit in with the style of play, because it's J.K. Dobbins now. They were all, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both on a 1-year deal, weren't they?
Yeah. They brought in. They brought Vidal in, didn't they, as well? Yeah. So they've got him there. But I mean, if someone like Gentry becomes available, I'd be surprised if he didn't go down that route.
I think Kenneth Grant's probably our best bet. I think he's gonna want to bring him back. He's an absolute stud of a player. So yeah, I think O-line, D-line is where they're going to go, and they'll pick up the other pieces as and where they can. He just seems to make it work with people. So Gunnar Helm maybe later in the draft at tight end, definitely a good option for them. That's where we're going now. There can only be one more. I think we've only got one more left. So, we will take the AFC